Hey there everyone, Dr. Chris here. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a Python tool within ArcGIS Pro. This Python tool will allow you to export data consistently out of your geo database with proper naming every single dang time. It's a very easy tool to make. Stick with me, I'll show you how it's done. Here we go. All right, here I am back in my basement office, and once again, I am a free agent in GIS, in Geoscience, in graphics, and in video production. Again, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a Python tool within ArcGIS Pro that will allow you to export a feature properly named out of your geo database. It'll make a shapefile. Actually, I believe you can export it into a geo database if you like as well. We'll get into that. Before I get going, just a little reminder that I've got a Teespring store down below where you can get yourself a Geoscience shirt or a GIS shirt to support the channel. I also have a website called geographicinformationsuccess.com. Sign up to my newsletter there so you can get some updates from me. This Python tool I'm going to be showing you how to create, you're only going to need 4 Python commands and 4 ArcPy commands. Well, technically it's 5 ArcPy commands. That's because one of the ArcPy commands, all we're going to do is copy and paste it out of ArcGIS Pro after we use it, and then do a little bit of editing, snug it down a little. When we're done, you'll have a great tool that'll export features out of your geodatabase consistently named every single time. Now, a little caveat, and I'll talk about that when we get into the program. So here we go into ArcGIS Pro and our Python IDE. Before that, however, got to mention that I'm using ArcGIS Pro for personal use. Esri is not paying me for this, but they can if they like. Also, why are we doing this? Well, you don't really have to, because there's a lot of tools where you just click, type, and you'll be fine. Me, I'm lazy. I like making tools that I can use over and over and over again and chain together, and that's what I'm going to be showing you in this video. And here is the problem we're going to be tackling, and that is the problem of this. What is this? I used to get these all the time. I'm sure you probably still get them. What is this? Okay, other than the fact that it's a shapefile and there should be 3 files, we'll look over that. What is parks? We don't know what this is. This is bad naming for files that are coming into your system. This is bad naming for files going out of your system. No, 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 and no. Oh, one more no. No! Do not do this. How do we go about fixing this? Fairly simple. We have a naming scheme. In this case, a fairly simple naming scheme that I'm going to show you how to create in the Python tool. The naming scheme is this. What is it? Parks. The date that it's created, the date that you're sending it out, and the datum and projection. Now, a lot of these aren't quite optional, but what I'm going to show you how to do is how to make these automatically put into the name upon export out of ArcGIS Pro. We need 3 libraries. We need OS, ArcPy, and datetime. The datetime one I'm going to be talking about because I'm going to use that actually in every file from here on in because I like my datetime as the version control method. And first, have a quick look at the Python commands that we're going to be using. Just going to be using def. That's to create a function that we can call multiple times. In this case, we're only going to call it once, but in the future, you can call it multiple times if you like. We're going to use datetime. This is actually the long statement that we're going to use. I'll explain it while I'm typing it out. But essentially what I'm going to be doing is getting a current date in year, month, day format. We're going to use that as a version control method that is very effective, and it's going to be automatically done. Oh, yes, I put the little square boxes around it. This is going to be permanent within my template that I use for my Python tool. We're also going to use format. This is a great tool where you can write out nice strings so you can put them into names, use them as messages. Format, fantastic tool. And replace. Now I'm going to have to explain while I'm doing it what we're going to be using replace for. Essentially, we're going to get rid of the underscores within the spatial reference and smash them together by turning those underscores into nothing at all. So it goes boom. Then we can have our spatial reference is locked in. The ArcPy commands are pretty easy. We used this last time. This is ArcPy get parameter as text. That is pulling the information out of the tool that we use within ArcGIS Pro. I think we're going to use it only twice. Only twice. We'll look at that in a second here. We're going to use ArcPy add messages to view. I like doing that because I like sending messages constantly throughout when my tools are running. In this case, we're only going to use it once, but I would suggest that you use it all the time so you can have like timestamps. Next, we're going to be getting the spatial reference from our feature, and that's this little bitty right here, arcpy.describe feature.spatial reference. There's a lot of information in there, and actually we don't really care about it right now. All we really want is the name. I'll show you how to put that into the tool coming up right now. Here I am in ArcGIS Pro within my library project. What I have done is I've outlined in polygons parks within this area that where I'm looking at. This is in Calgary. This is Nose Hill. There's a bunch of little parks. The important thing is these are the features that, or this is the single feature that I'm going to use for my export, so I can show you how to name stuff properly on the when you're exporting and how to automatically doing that using Python. I also have my Python IDE ready. Right now I've got a template from last time, but what I've also done is I've also added this. Current date is equal to datetime.now.string from time with that little bit of chunky code in there. What that is going to do, that is going to automatically create a date time string that has year, year, month, month, day, day. That is number, 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 number. Well, technically character, 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 character. Anyways, what I'm using that for is version control, both on naming, and in the future I'll probably use it within some of my tables as well. Now I'm going to save this as the function name or the tool name that I'm going to be creating. So I'm going to save as, I already have a name right there, but I'm going to name this one Dr. Chris because it's an example. I'm going to save it, and then now we're going to create the tool back in ArcGIS Pro, and then we're going to manipulate the code such that what comes out of that tool will give us a properly named exported shapefile. So let's go back to ArcGIS Pro, and I'm going to go to Catalog, where I'm going to start creating a tool. I'm going to right-click on Library and make a new script. We're going to call this script Feature Export. The label is, Feature Export, and the script file, the one we just created. So I'm going to go to Folders, Python Tools, not there, so up to F5, Feature Export Dr. Chris, and it looks like it switched my name. I'm back over there. All right, and I'm going to say OK. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save it because sometimes ArcGIS Pro crashes and I don't want to lose all the work that I've done on the tool. So I'm going to go right-click on the tool, click on Properties. I'm going to go over to Parameters. I'm going to add 3 parameters. We need three parameters. That is the feature set that we're going to be exporting, the new name we're going to be using, and the folder that it's going into. Everything else is going to be automatically created. And I'm going to show you how. All right, so the first is the feature. We're going to call this feature out. The name is feature out. It is not the data type is not a string. It is actually a feature set. Say okay. The next parameter is the name. We'll call this, not BAME out, name out. The name is name out. The string, it's going to be just a string, straight up string. The third parameter is going to be folder out, and we're going to call that folder out, and the data type is of course a folder. Find that folder. Look at that. That's all you have to set up in the tool right now. It's actually done. Everything else is now going to be happening within our Python IDE while we make the Python code. I'm going to save this, and we're going to go back to the Python IDE. But remember that there's only 3 parameters coming out. First one was feature set, second one, the name, third one was the folder. So let's go back to our Python IDE and start creating it. So I'm going to rename a few things here. This is my little commented area where I like saying what the program is. So I'm just going to change the name. It's called Feature Export, version 0.1. Date is year, month, day, day. And the original author is Dr. Chris. So let's start at the very beginning. We're actually technically going to stop at the end because we're going to change a few things up. Right now we've got the function is called current function. We're going to change that to something that makes a little more sense. That's going to be called, double click on that. We're going to call this feature export. And first parameter was feature out. Second one, if you remember, it was name out. And the third was folder, folder out. Now I've also got to make sure that I grab those parameters as get parameter as text. Make sure it come here. I'm going to start pulling out the parameters. Now, of course, I haven't done this yet, but second parameter, remember that the numbering is Python, so 0 is 1, 1 is 2, wait, 0 is 1, no, 1 is 0, 2 is 0, 1, you know what I'm trying to say. All right, so name out here, folder out here. All right, and we also got to copy and paste this entire call to the function, paste it right up there, and technically, if we ran this, it would work. But it would work, but not the way we want it to work. What I want to do now is get the Python command out of ArcGIS Pro that we're going to be using, that we're going to be cycling through this to automatically export our data. So I'm going to go back to ArcGIS Pro, and what we want to do is this park feature we want to export. So the best way to do this is we're going to right click on it, we're going to go Data, Export Feature. What happens is a geoprocessing tool pops up, and it's a feature class to feature class. We want this because this is where we can rename the feature that we want to export. So the first one is the input feature, that is the parks. The output library, right now it's going into a geodatabase, but we want to put that right into an outbox folder. And we're going to give it a new name, but we're just going to give it a new name right now. We're just going to call this parks out. That's not going to be the name that we use. And we just have to run it. We're going to run, there we go, it's ran. We're going to check the history. Here it is. It's within the geoprocessing history. We're going to right click on that and we're going to copy Python command. And then I'm going to go back to my IDE and I'm going to place it right in here by pasting. There we go. Now the great thing about this tool is that even though it's copied every single thing that the geoprocessing tool used, it actually, we don't need all of that information. Now if you went back to check the ArcPy help page on Esri, it shows that we only need 3 parameters. That is the feature set in, folder out, and the new name. Hence why that's what we're using for our tool that we created in ArcGIS Pro. So if we look here, this first one is the feature out. We're just going to grab feature out that we've sent to our function. It wants the folder. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to grab the folder right here. And then the new name right here. Now, if we say name out, we actually need a new name. I'm going to show you that in a bit. So let's call it new name right now. New name. And all these other parameters in here, we could just get rid of. We don't need them. Come on. Now, we don't need them right now. We may need them in the future, but right now we don't. So I'm just going to delete that, save it. And I'm going to comment this out because we've got a little more work to do because we have to create new name. Because in that new name, we want the current date out and we want our spatial reference, as I said before. But what that means is we've got to get our spatial reference from our feature set. How do we get a spatial reference from our feature set? Well, we have to use something called ArcPy describe to get the spatial reference. So how do we get a spatial reference? We're going to call this spatial ref, and we're going to get it by this. We go arcpy.describe, and we're going to describe the feature set we're putting in. That is feature out. We go dot spatial reference, and this will actually export a lot of information about the spatial reference. We don't want all the information. We just want the name. I'm going to show you why here. So we're going to go dot name. Oops, still did before. Dot name, and now we're going to have a look. Oops, date, time. Ha! Luckily it had that little snippet there. Date, time, not data time. All right. So if I've done this correctly, this spatial reference is a text name. So we're going to have a look at it by running the tool. We're going to copy this ArcPy add message. Oh yeah, that's right. I like these messages because I can write in the code messages out, and then it'll show back in ArcGIS Pro, so I know what's going on. So I know that the code hasn't locked up. So this is starting feature export, and what we're going to want here is we're going to want to have a look at the spatial reference name. So we call SR, curly brackets, and we're going to use format. I love format. It works very well. We're going to stick in the spatial reference. Now, we're lucky. This will run on the first try. I'm going to go back to ArcGIS Pro. We're going to go to our catalog. We're going to click on the tool we just created. That's feature export. Feature name is, I'm going to get rid of parks out. Don't need that anymore. I'm going to put in parks, the name out. We're just going to call parks. We can call it whatever we want, but just let's make it descriptive, and the folder out. We're going to stick it in the out box for the folder out, and we'll run, and it works right away, and we'll be able to see that, which I believe you can. This is the spatial reference. This is what we want in our naming output. And actually what we don't want, we don't want these little guys right here. We don't want those underscores. We want to slam it together so we can save space and make sure that people can like read the spatial reference on our shapefile out right away. So I'm going to go back to Python IDE, and I'm going to start building the new name. So what does the new name look like? So our new name looks like this. Wait, did I call it new name? Is equal to, we're going to use format here. So we're going to need some squigglies and some underscores. So that we're going to go squiggly. First one is going to be the name. The second one is going to be our control date or our versioning. And the third one is going to be our spatial reference. And we're going to do this, dot format. Again, the first one is the name out. Second one is the current date. And the third one is the spatial reference, except this time what we've got to do is, remember back a few minutes ago, I told you that we've got to replace. We've got to replace those underscores with nothing, so it slams the entire name together. I'm going to go dot replace, replace underscore with nothing. And we can check this once again. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to move this add message down here, and we're going to call this new name. We're going to have a look at the new name before we run the code, and you'll be surprised. Just, did I paste that? There we go. This is how well this works. I'm going to go back to ArcGIS Pro. I'm going to run it again. It'll work, and we can get to see our new name. There's our new name right here. That is the name that's going to export. Very minimal typing. We just need to put it in a single name over here, and we've got a versioning control and something that tells us what spatial reference is of the shapefile that we're sending out. So it's a little bit long, but I'll give that as an exercise to you at the end of the code, which I'm going to give to you. So we're going to go back to the IDE, and now we're going to export. We're going to get rid of the add message. We don't need add message anymore. We already know it works. So what we're going to do is now we're going to uncomment this feature class to feature class, and we're going to fill in this last thing right here, and that is new name. Now the beauty of this is that feature class to feature class recognizes that we're putting it into a folder, so it's automatically going to make a shapefile. If it was going into a geodatabase, it would automatically create a feature. This thing's brilliant. I'm just going to show you right now that it's going to work. I'm going to go back to ArcGIS Pro. All I'm going to do is I'm going to hit run. Look at that. I'm going to go to the folder where I saved it. That was in the outbox. And there it is. Perfect. Now we've got a tool where we're going to export with today's date and the spatial reference within the title every single damn time, so you're not sending out garbage shapefiles to anybody outside of your organization or in your organization. Watch, I'll show you how quick this will work. Let's just call this parks underscore out, and we go run. So please go back here. Look at that. There's it, parks underscore out. Do this a million times now. It'll always give, well, I shouldn't say always. There may be a problem with the name and the underscore and the spatial reference, but I'm going to leave that as an exercise within the Python code that I will be giving you. So there you go. All done. And that was my video on showing you how to make a Python tool within ArcGIS Pro to consistently name your exported features from your geodatabase. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the tool down below and the Python code down below for you to download if you like. Within the code, I'm also going to add a little section and say how you could improve the code to make sure that, hey, to make sure that you learn a bit more about how to make these tools better once you use them. Thanks for watching. Again, I've got a Teespring store down below. If you'd like to support the channel, you can get yourself a GIS and Geoscience t-shirt. Please support my channel. Also, I've got a website, geographicinformationsuccess.com. Sign up to my newsletter there. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, add me to your LinkedIn, or even better, share my videos through your networks. Till next time, I'm Dr. Chris. Keep rocking.